In this video, we'll show you how we've kept our place tidy. And how we've done that is through cable management, storage, and some helpful hacks that have helped us along the way. If you don't want to see your cables lying around in the house, cable management is a great way to take care of that. You may have been folding your cables in this way to quickly just get things done and out of the way, or you may have been taught to even do it the old-fashioned way around your arm, like so. But by doing so, you might damage the cable, and the cable actually doesn't stay that way. If you try forcing it, which is out of its memory, you'll see that it doesn't want to go in that direction. Like no matter how hard you try to force it, it's just going to be a jumbled mess, and that's not good. The correct way to fold your cable is to do it the over-under method. So on my right hand, you'll see that I'll be rolling away from myself, and as I do that, it'll fold over itself. So I'm folding away from myself and it's folding over. And as I'm rolling towards myself, it'll fold under. And so I'm going to continue doing that until I reach the very end of the cable. And you'll notice that there's no particular pattern as I go. You don't have to go over, under. You just basically follow the memory of the cable itself. So once I've reached the very end, you'll notice that it's flat, and that's exactly how you want it. A bonus thing about this is that if you actually have a long cable, if you unroll it, it'll actually come out straight. It won't tangle. So that's like a big benefit for sure. And here's an example of how we manage our cables. You'll notice that in this particular outlet, we just have one cable going directly to it. So the thought is that we should bring the power to whatever item that we need to power instead of bringing the item to the outlet, because then you'd have such a mess. I mean, you'd have cables all over the place. Originally, this area actually probably had 3 or 2 cables going into here, and it was just like messy, and I didn't like looking at it, neither did Jay. So with this particular piece we have here, oh, it slid, that was and in this particular unit, you'll see that a cable comes out from the outlet and it goes to this plastic box here that we have stowed away the surge protector. And with the surge protector, we have connected to it a few items. We have the lamp and then also my breast pump. This was actually on the ground and it was annoying because I thought I'd trip on it or it'd get messed up or dirty. And at least now it's on the counter here, but you could see that the cord is not in view. What's cool is that it's actually right here hanging out, and then all I have to do is plug it in and it's good to go without the cables being all exposed. So this is a pretty nifty item. And one quick hack that we have here in the kitchen are these LED lights that we've installed in our drawers underneath here in the sink, as well as in our cabinet over here. The reason why it's helpful is because when you go underneath, it's all dark and you can't find things that you're looking for. Jay and I would actually use our cell phone light to like search through, but now that we have this installed, it's pretty helpful. So as I open the door here, you'll see that the light turns on here in the sink, underneath the sink, as well as over here where all our items are in the pantry. And what's nice about it is that it actually comes off. So it's just held by a magnet underneath. We use rechargeable batteries, so then that's easy to just pop in. And then you just match the magnet with the light and it sticks like so. So storage in a small condo space is really important. And if you're Filipino, you'll feel me on this one. We have a dishwasher that we never use, but in it, we actually store some items. So whatever we couldn't fit in our pantry, we have an overflow of items here. I've been baking a lot of bread lately, so we've got extra flour, but that's pretty much it about that piece. So if you have a dishwasher, use it if you're not washing. In your home, you might have some dead space, and so that is the best place to actually figure out what you can do to best optimize that area to store. So over here, we actually have all of our shoes. We purchased the shelving unit from IKEA, and we're able to split it. So Jay has his shoes on the top, I have my shoes at the bottom, and it stores a ton of our shoes, which is great. And over here we have a broom holder, which actually holds Jay's light stand, so that's pretty helpful for him.
In here are pretty much some tools that I think that are worth having in your home toolkit. First things first is like what Cherry did when she wrapped the cables, was having a Velcro tie. These are pretty cheap. There's like $10 that come in a pack of 4 rolls. So basically you take it out like one of like these, you thread it through one of the cables, so that way it stays onto it, and now you can obviously wrap it and keep it tidy. The next thing that I personally love to do, kind of geeky, but it's a labeler, and this is Dymo's, I forget the model number, and it uses these D1 cartridges, okay? And so this one is a black on white, but you can also have white text that is on black. I even got one now that it's like black on clear, so that way you can be super organized. If you like typefaces as well, you can connect this to the computer and you can have that exact typeface onto the label. Next thing to have is kind of universal for anything like home projects, is a pretty good drill. And so there are ones that we've had before, even though this is a Black & Decker, there are lower end models. I would say just kind of double down on a really good one. So this one uses a lithium ion battery, and the drill bits is kind of the most important part, because standard ones are like this, the Phillips and the flathead. But one thing that I did like, and I'll link, is a drill bit that kind of matches the IKEA hex wrenches. So that little annoying piece that you have to build, or rather tighten or loosen on IKEA stuff, there's actually a hex wrench that you can get for your drill. And that makes life a lot easier, especially if you're assembling and whatnot. And if you're drilling into the walls, which is something that we've been doing here more lately, having a proper drill bit will be quite important into making those holes. Other thing that's kind of worth it is these 3M command strips. So if you don't want to drill anything into the wall, and if you're mounting something that's relatively light, these 3M command strips are pretty clutch. But pretty sure you've seen them. They're even the commercials where it's like these little hooks, they go onto each other, and then if it comes time for you to remove it, you just like stretch this whole thing out, and then the wall is damage free. The last thing is to have some industrial strength Velcro tape. So this one is 10 feet and it's 1 inch wide. I won't take out everything, but it includes what you think it is, just Velcro tape. And here's why, because if you want to get creative and you have some moment that you wanted to write, taking out a Post-it note from underneath the dining table, got myself a pen, but wait, there's more. The glue came out on the actual Sharpie, and the Velcro typically would be around this. So every time we're sitting at the dining table, usually we'll be writing. Again, this is like our multi-use table. So for writing anything, writing a card or filling out something, usually we're looking for a pen. And so one of us is sitting here and we have our notes underneath the table. So this table, I feel like everything here is from IKEA. This table is something that Cherry bought a while ago, and definitely one of the cooler tables. I won't demo it now, but this whole table can actually seat 12 people. And so if you can imagine, there's little latches underneath here. You unhook that, you spread it out, and then there's some panels that you would just add onto here. And fun fact, I actually proposed to Cherry here on my 25th birthday, 2013, can't do the math. But we had about a dozen people here, and this table was actually positioned right over here in our living room. And we have stools as well that's stored actually behind the couch. And we've had comfortably 12 people sitting around this table. So what I did add though onto this, ever since we did have the vinyl floors installed, were those furniture movers, plastic pieces that make furniture a lot easier to slide. So let me demo that. So with one person, you can go ahead and slide that. So now that this is out of the way, these are some benches that we have for additional storage. So what we have over here, actually don't remember, oh, extra plates when we've hosted. Trader Joe bags, because this is probably the first thing that we usually get out of the house running for groceries. We've stocked up a whole lot on the whole Germ-X hand sanitizer. There's alcohol in here. There's masks. And again, I mentioned some party supplies that we have over here. On this side, some alcohol. Plenty of wine, Jameson that we haven't had for so long. More wine if you can hear that. And actually, since we're amateur table tennis ping pong players, a lot of our ping pong balls are here, and then our paddles are here as well. I forgot to mention as well, on our bench, using the 3M command strips and an extension cord, solved one of our problems. Was if either of us are working on a dining table with both of our laptops, power is obviously an issue to ensure that you can keep working. So what I installed over here is an extension cord, really. But I went ahead and put 3M command strips, which attaches to the side of the bench. So both sides actually have that. And so it's a lot easier to be powering devices without having to run the power cord all the way across the table. Since I do photo and video, batteries is one thing that I'm always charging. This is a quick hack that I did on a toolbox. So if you can see right here, plus means these AA batteries and AAA batteries are good to go. And then the red X just means that these need to be charged. What I did was I just drilled a hole on the back. And so this right here is another surge protector or an extension cord that you plug into the wall. So when you open it, there's AA batteries, there's a charger, there's a battery tester, and then I have some plugs that I've had for my camera gear, rather battery chargers for some of my cameras. But the big guns is, for example, this guy right here, which charges 14 AA batteries. This toolbox is basically makes it a lot easier to be charging multiple AA batteries and camera batteries as well. The other one that I recently worked on is a smaller version of this guy. It doesn't have the integrated AA batteries, but for me, a lot of my camera battery chargers have I always call them the figure 8 plug. So what I ended up doing was I installed here, really just placed in here another surge protector, is this guy. So this one actually has 3 USB ports and then 1 USB-C port. And then you would just run this. I literally just cut a hole on the side of the bag. You run this onto an outlet, and then you can power your devices from here. So I also put here plenty of USB-C power cords over here that can charge over USB-C. For example, the audio pack from Rode, I can go ahead and charge that. And then I have a bunch, or rather 3 of them. These are the figure 8 plugs that I have that usually go into a camera battery charger. So I can basically charge, I don't know, 6 devices from this guy right here. So when it comes to the house, there are various ways for us to charge our phones. One that we showed over there near the kitchen was an iPhone stand that we can charge our phone. And typically when we're watching movies, anything where we're in front of the TV, we're typically charging our phone as well. So one thing that's worth having in the home kit is an extra long 10 feet cable that you can charge your phone. And not only for Lightning, but also for USB-C and also USB micro. So this thing right here, I can charge my phone. With USB-C, I can charge my Switch controller. And then with the old school USB micro, I can charge my USB device fan. So regarding what Cherry had mentioned about bringing power to the devices as opposed to from the devices to the outlet, here's another good example. So when we had installed the shelf for our projector, there's like 3 devices here. So there is the projector itself, there's a Sonos control unit, so that way we could hook up the projector sound to our Sonos sound system, and also the Nintendo Switch dock. So if you imagine, these are 3 devices that would go all down to the electrical outlet. So instead, there's a little, it's kind of covered right now behind the ping pong table, but there's a little strip right here that you can buy, which is a cable cover, which is $15, and it's paintable, so it's gonna match the wall. And I put a extension cord from the outlet to the back of the shelf, and then from there, I'm plugging in the 3 devices. And all I have to do from there is just tie the excess cable onto itself using a Velcro tie. One of the cooler purchases that Cherry made was this L couch from IKEA. One, this whole thing becomes a bed. So when we've had guests here who have slept over, they can go ahead and sleep right over here. But more importantly, in this part of the section is storage. So I can go ahead and lift that. Ugh. And another storage hack, or maybe not, but it's a product, are these vacuum bags. You've probably seen them on TV a long time ago, but they do work. So currently we have our clothes for Kieran over here. And again, they're labeled. So at a glance, we know that here is 3 to 6 months. What is this one? These are extra blankets that we have. And if you can see, the majority, everything that's in here is all vacuum sealed. So then we can go ahead and have more things to store in this storage space. Another area where we charge our devices is right over here. It's pretty much very simple. These are just a bunch of extra cables that I had. And again, they're USB-C, USB micro, and then a lightning cable as well for our Apple devices. And then it's all held with this little guy right here. I kind of forget how much it was, but I'm pretty sure it's like less than $10. And that stays anchored onto this table. So again, if we need to charge devices, we'll bring it over here and then charge it over here. On the bottom right here is pretty much where if the power goes out, then it would pretty much suck, but all of our devices that are connected is over here. So there's a router, there's the Harmony receiver for the all-in-one remote, and then there's like the Sonos controller over here, there's the Philips Hue controller over here, essentially all the things that are, you know, smart home devices that have a bridge. Unfortunately, you need to have a device that communicates with everything. That's all over here. And not ashamed of it, but all of the power goes into this guy right here. So from the wall, there is another extension cord, or rather a surge protector, and that goes in over here. So I don't know if you can see it, but all the cables are just tossed into here. I tried to wind them up as much as I can with the Velcro ties. And then more importantly, I went ahead and labeled the actual plugs, so that way I know which device I'm potentially unplugging. So that's always important, is just to know at a glance, like, I don't know if you can see that, it says Logitech Tech Pop. And these are little Wi-Fi smart buttons that we have to control the lights from the bed. So that's all labeled, for example, all in here. So in the last video, I kind of showed a little bit about the workstation that I have that's literally in between our wardrobes. And when it comes time when I'm not using it, I actually go ahead and just cover it with a blind. Usually it locks. But all I want to say about this area here is that if you're working, say on some critical stuff, usually you want to be able to get a UPS, and that's an uninterrupted power supply. I'm not going to go ahead and show you underneath the table and kind of show you what that is, but I'll just probably show a photo of it right here on the screen. And all it really is a device that has a built-in battery in it. So the whole thing itself is pretty heavy, but usually you can power up some devices up to 3 to 5 minutes, depends on how much you have it hooked up to it. And really the goal is for you to properly shut down the computer, save your work before it gets lost, and a brownout, for example, that we had kind of recently with the fires. But that's all that really is to it. So if you have anything that you're working on mission critical, some people even install a UPS for their router, so that way their internet doesn't get interrupted, and then they can save their work and all that stuff before the full power runs out.
So last video that we did, we had a condo tour showing you, I said